Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to show you my brand new photo book from beginning to the very end to give you tips and inspiration for your next travel photo book project. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and make sure to check the notifications bell to never miss a new video. I also have a Patreon page now if you want to show your support for this channel. So this video is not going to be a traditional photo book review. I'm not talking about the company as such, but I want to show you a photo book, every single page of it. And the video is going to be more about the designs, how I made them, why I made them like that, and how you can make a similar design yourself. So the book I'm talking about is this one here, which is South America, and I've been working on this book for the past 2 months. I created this photo book in Adobe InDesign, so it's not created in a photo book company's editor, and it's a very thick book. It's 130 pages, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'm going to show you in a close-up shot from beginning to end, but before I do that, let me just give you some specs for the book itself. So this book was made by Sal Digital, and it is a 28 by 28 centimeters, which is roughly 11 by 11 inches square photo book. The cover is an image wrap matte unpadded hardcover, so all around, and it is 130 lay flat pages. There we go. And the paper used in this book is a lustrous photographic silver halide paper. The price for this book was £150, which is I think around 180 US dollars, so not a cheap book. When making this photo book, the decision which company to use was very difficult because I knew that this would be a very long photo book because I visited so many places during this journey, and I wanted to keep all my photos in one book, which meant that it needed to have a lot of pages. And as you know, I do love silver halide photo books and I do love lay flat photo books, but many of them kind of max out at 100 pages and they are way too thick, way too bulky. So digital printing was not an option for me, and perfect bound photo books were not really an option. But even when it comes to lay flat, there is of course silver halide and the inkjet printers, and I love the quality of both of those. But when it comes to inkjet printing in photo books, it's still so difficult to find inkjet printers around the world, and when you do find one, it's going to have some limitations, like just one paper type or really thick pages or no lay flat pages and so on. So I had to go with silver halide pages, and the reason why I chose Sal, besides being one of my favorite companies ever, is because they were the cheapest at this style of photo book. So I compared quite a few companies who do silver halide at this size with the same specs, and Sal just came out cheaper, and also I really trust their quality, and their pages are not so thick. They're thick enough for this photo book, but they're not rigid to make it extremely heavy and bulky. If you like any of these designs shown in this book, you can let me know in the comments, and I might be able to make them available in a PSD or Adobe InDesign template. And also you'll see a lot of travel maps in this photo book. All of them were created using my travel map creator website. I don't want this video to sound like an ad, but this is the first time that I'm actually showing those travel maps in the context of an entire photo book, and this photo book has so many different types of maps, so hopefully it's going to give you inspiration of what you can do with the maps on the travel map creator. Again, a link is going to be in the description below. So let's dive in. So let me show you first the cover of the book before I go inside. So I made this design, which is basically one photo chosen from the book, and I put this white line across, and I matched the font on the front of the cover to the main font inside the book. However, on the spine of the book, I chose a very specific font which is not found inside the book. And the reason for that is because if I decide to go with a different font in my next book, I still want them to look the same on the shelf. So it's a good idea to think about this when you make photo books, to not match the spine font to the actual front cover font, but to match it to all the other books that you have on the shelf. And this way you can still make them individual and you can use different fonts inside the book, but when you put them on the shelf, they are going to look nice and consistent. So given the fact that it's 130 pages, I still think that it's not as thick as most of the lay flat books would be, because the pages are quite thin, and that's what I was looking for. And now let's go inside the book. I'm going to put a wallet here just to keep the book flat. So here is my first page, which is actually the back of the cover. The one thing I don't like about this is that it starts right on the back of the front cover, but I really had no choice. When you make a photo book with Sal Digital, they used to have an empty page here, but now the first page actually starts on the back of the front cover. The way to get around that is to either leave the first page blank, or you can leave the first 2 pages blank. It's really up to you. And normally that's what I would do. But because I had so many photos to put into this book and I really didn't want to divide it into 2 separate books, I had to use every single page available. So not ideal, but on the other hand, it looks kind of cool that the main map starts on the very first page when you open the book. So this is the design I made to start my book. And here is one of these fairly illustrated maps, not very clip arty, but still not a traditional map. And it shows the entire journey that I made. So starting in Glasgow, going to Paris, Santiago, Buenos Aires, Iguazu Falls, back to Buenos Aires, Calafat, Atlanta, Las Vegas, back to Amsterdam and to Glasgow. And in the bottom here, you can see how many countries I visited, how many miles I traveled, and how many days I was away. So these are all ideas taken from my info pages that you can create on the travelmapcreator.com. It doesn't look exactly like this, but obviously I wanted to create something that fits this book. So I have here my main title again, the dates, a little introduction to my trip, how I decided to go on this trip, why, and how I got the tickets, some of my favorite photos from each location. And I have here a full, really OCD itinerary showing the date, then showing the place where I was on that date, and then showing like 8:15 taking the bus to Edinburgh Airport, 11:30 flight Edinburgh Paris, and the flight number, then 20 to midnight flight from Paris to Santiago, and so on. So that's basically my first page that took me the most time to probably make. And let me give you a close-up. So that's the kind of detail of the map, and you can already see the finish of the paper. It's a nice lustrous paper. And that's my itinerary, so quite detailed, because I really wanted to keep all the information in this one book. So let's go on. This is where the first destination starts, which was Chile, and now you can see the main design that I chose for this book. So in the top left corner, I always have the date of the pictures taken on this page, and then here I have my first little map which shows me this leg of the journey, and I have there the flight number as well included, a little bit about this trip, where I went to, and I also took a picture in the plane of the schedule or whatever. When you get on the plane, what they give you, the little menu card, and you have on the back the schedule for when is going to happen what. That was really badly explained, but you know what I mean. So I took a picture of that and included here because this was such a long flight, 15 hours, that it needed its own double page spread. And here was the first sight of the Andes when we were getting closer to Chile. Now this is our Santiago journey. So the same date, we arrived in the morning, and then I made a little spread here about the hotel, some pictures, and I'm using this kind of straight thickish line all around the book with the main titles just to give some color. I wanted to use some blocks as well, but I thought it was way too much, so the thinner lines actually make more sense in this case. And then here is my illustrated map that I made for Santiago. Again, these are maps that you are going to be able to make from the Travel Map Creator on my website, and this is a city illustrated map. So it shows hand-drawn images of the main sites that we visited, and also the main streets. There is the hotel, Sky Costanera, the cathedral, Moneda, and some, location specific elements. I really love these maps. They add a little bit of life to the book. That's how it looks in a close-up. And let's go on. So now the main photos start. So these are some of the spreads that I included in this book. I made them all in Adobe InDesign. Lastaria, and again you can see that the place where these photos were taken, I just included them as a title with the color code. And I also forgot to say that the colors you saw on the very first page represent the colors for each country. So Argentina is going to be blue, Chile is going to be yellow, and the US is going to be a teal color. So that's the color code that I just wanted to separate the legs of the journey by colors. Here I included some memorabilia. So that was the metro car that we used. This was the metro station, and this was the menu where we had this not very local little lunch. So just things that you want to remember the place by, and you could keep these things in a pocket next to your photo book, but if you include them in the book, then it's just in one place and there's no danger of losing them. That was the cathedral. And again, just some very minimalist basic designs. If you have panoramic shots, of course the lay flat is amazing because you don't get a break in the middle, and then you can spread your photo across 2 pages. And let's just go on. Here again, I included our ticket to the observation deck to Sky Costanera. And this was our second day, a Maipo day trip. Again, I created a little map showing the route of our day trip to the El Yeso Dam and the stops we made alongside the trip. And I also included some of the animals local to the area. We obviously haven't seen them all, but those are the kind of animals you would see. And the same style carries on here with the photos from the dam. I absolutely love these double spreads. These pictures really come alive. The camera doesn't really capture the impression that you get when you open an 11 by 11 inch book and you have a photo across 2 pages. It just looks really impressive. This was a funny page. When you take so many selfies and shots, you don't want to put them on a double page spread, but when you put so many after each other, some of them are quite funny. I actually like these photos. And here is our infamous jump scene that I try to do in every place that I visit. So the picture wasn't exactly shot at the right angle, but what I did is I moved this down in the middle to match the sea level, not sea level, the lake level. So it looks kind of the same horizontal line, and it makes the spread look much nicer. And this is one of my favorite shots. It looks kind of mystical with the dust coming up into the air. And on the way home, we stopped at a chocolate house and there was some wine tasting as well. And these are the kind of blocks that I was talking about instead of the yellow line. I used a couple of these blocks, but not too many because I didn't want to overpower this book with color blocks. And here we go to our second destination, Argentina. You can see the date and now the color changes. And here is my little map of going from Santiago to Buenos Aires. Again, I have my flight number. Now here is Buenos Aires, very similar to Santiago. Again, I created an illustrated map with the same colors to match the color scheme of Buenos Aires. And again, let me give you a close-up of the map so you can see the kind of things you can have in these illustrated maps. This is one of my favorite places in Buenos Aires. Teatro Cologne is such an amazing theater. It's one of the nicest opera houses in the world. Not the oldest one, but one of the nicest ones, and apparently the best acoustics. And then here is the shopping street in Buenos Aires. Again, some nice double page spreads from Buenos Aires. I absolutely loved that city. It was so beautiful. And again, one of those blocks in the same color. And a few more photos. Puerto Madero. And then here comes my next trip to Iguazu Falls. Again, I'm using the same color despite it being all green, but it's still in Argentina. And here is my flight to Iguazu Falls, the flight number again. And this was the view from the plane when we were landing. It was absolutely breathtaking. Now I took a picture of the park map so I can include it in my photo book, again as a memorabilia instead of trying to find it on Google. Always take pictures of these things when you travel because you can include them in your photo book. Now here were my jungle creatures, so the animals I managed to take a nicer picture of. The waterfall. Again, when you have so many lovely pictures from a place like this, which looked like paradise, it was so difficult to choose which ones to put on double page spreads. I just wanted all of them on double page spreads, but the book was getting so long already that you really have to make a decision of, you know, which one to choose. And then this is our next destination, going from Iguazu to Buenos Aires and down to El Calafate. It was a 2-leg trip. And this is the start of Patagonia. And again, you can see some design elements here that some of the text can go vertical while other ones can go horizontal. Again, it adds a little bit of interesting touch to the page spread. And here I made a different map. This one is not a city map, but it shows our day trips in the Patagonia region. So the first one was going from El Calafate to Perito Moreno, the second one to La Leona and El Chalten. So these were just for day trips. And this was my hotel in Patagonia, and that was my view from the window. It was amazing. It's one of my favorite hotels, and again the date is up there at the top. These are just pictures from El Calafate, I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Lago Argentino. Again, a double page spread from the lagoon. I like to include every now and then some double spreads which are busier, which have more smaller photos. Including too many of these in the book is going to kind of destroy the impression of the book, because none of the pictures are going to give that wow factor because they are too small. But if you include a few of these pages alongside double page spreads or single page photos, then they make more sense and it looks nicer in the book, at least to my opinion. This was the first day trip. I took a photo of the tour guide and the bus that took us there. That was the first stop. And this was getting closer to the mountain. I went there for a hike to El Chalten, and I created this map of my hike. So it's a satellite map and it shows where I started and the 2 points where I managed to hike up, and that would be the ultimate goal. But of course, that's not an option for the average tourist like me. So again, this is a different kind of hiking map that you can create on the travelmapcreator.com. I'm trying to not make this video into an ad, but this is the first time that I'm showing these maps in an actual photo book. And again, here you can see the distance hiked, the time hiked, and the elevation. A few more photos from here, showing the stages of my hike and getting up to the top. And again, my favorite shot on a double page spread, and the lagoon. This was the last day trip to Perito Moreno. Again, I took a picture of the whole area, the park, and our tour guide. Again, a busier spread here and a double page spread. So it really balances out the number of photos on the pages. I really love this picture of my sister. I don't know if she would approve of it, but it's one of my favorites. And then a few more photos of the area. And this was my final day back to Buenos Aires. This time it was nice and sunny, so I just took a few more photos from the Mirador. This was an amazing bookshop. If you ever go to Buenos Aires, you have to go in. It's called the El Ateneo, and it's a theater turned into a bookshop. And finally, the Evita Museum. And after that, I had 2 more pages. The only reason why I went to Vegas was to see Mariah Carey, and I didn't plan to go to Vegas. It's not one of my favorite places. So I included 2 pages of the city because I was there for 3 days, but this trip is not about Vegas, it's about South America, but that was just a tiny stop to meet somebody. So again, here is a little picture from the plane, the baggage claim, she was all over the place, and this was the meet and greet, so our lovely photo together, and just a few pictures from the night of the concert. And that's the end of the book. If you have any questions about this book, the contents or the designs, leave them in the comments underneath the video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, subscribe for more.